Country music history story time. Now, it's not uncommon for celebrities and presidents to meet each other. Politicians are happy to use the opportunity to gain some popularity with new voting bases, and celebrities can use it to broaden their exposure to new fans, flex the impressive prowess of their star power, or occasionally use it to platform their social or political ideals. Now, the perpetually paranoid Richard Nixon was never hesitant to try to use star power to connect with voters he was afraid didn't like him. Merle Haggard played for Tricky Dick. Elvis's awkward Oval Office meeting with Richard is a key component of one of the craziest stories in music history, period. And when the man who sang Folsom Prison Blues was testifying in front of Congress about prison reform, Richard Nixon wasn't about to miss his opportunity to broaden his appeal with the working man, and invited the man in black to play a few songs in the White House's Blue Room. At the time, the United States was still engaged in Vietnam, and the war wasn't very popular. And Nixon's tenure as president had been spent cultivating right-wing patriotic propaganda, all in an attempt to strengthen the foundation of his military efforts in Asia. He'd also spent a lot of time trying to screw over and make minorities and poor people look bad. You know, regular Richard Nixon stuff. And who better to help him push that propaganda than the most iconic country singer in history? So as Nixon and Cash sat down across from each other in the Blue Room, surrounded by cameramen and reporters, Nixon tried setting the tone for the message he was hoping that meeting would send. And he said, "Hey Johnny, would you mind playing a few songs for us? I like songs like Merle Haggard's Okie from Muskogee and Guy Drake's Welfare Cadillac." Because Richard Nixon was an idiot and didn't understand that those songs were satire, literally written to make fun of the Okies from Muskogees and the right-wing rhetoric and policies of the likes of Richard Nixon. And Johnny Cash, who is so well known for his beliefs that the poor people should bootstrap their ways to a better life and there's nothing more patriotic than supporting the USA blowing up foreign countries, tells Richard Nixon, "I'm sorry, I don't know any of those songs, but I'll sing you a few of my own." And Cash strums his way into the song What Is Truth, arguably an anti-war protest song that champions the voice of the youth. You could probably argue it's a hippie song if it wasn't coming out of the face of Johnny Cash. So this was starting off great for Richard. Nixon notoriously loved hippies. And then the man in black picked his way into the song that gave him his namesake. A song for the poor and beaten down. A song for the 100,000 who have died believing that we were all on their side. A song that reminded Richard Nixon about the lives that could have been, but every week we lose 100 fine young men. And then he capped off his little show for the warmongering leader of the free world with the Ballad of Ira Hayes. Ira Hayes was a Native American veteran of the Second World War, and you've seen him countless times in the picture of the Marines hoisting the American flag after the Battle of Iwo Jima, arguably the most iconic war picture ever taken. And when he came home, his country exploited him, parading him around to celebrate their great victory, using him to encourage people to join the war effort and buy bonds. And then when the war was over, they cast him aside. And he drank himself to death alone and forgotten at the age of 32. Once again, not exactly the blind patriotism song Richard Nixon was looking for. So the moral of the story is that if you're ever looking for the strength and inspiration to speak your convictions, just ask yourself, what would Johnny do? And the answer will always be passive-aggressively sing protest songs directly to the face of the leader of the free world. And you can never go wrong with that.